Undertale's a game that's been loved by its fandom for almost a decade now. With its iconic pixel art style, the simple gameplay, and of all the many characters and NPCs in the game that are the real money makers, it's no wonder that people fall in love with all these characters. And I mean fall in love literally. Self-shipping is the act of shipping yourself with a fictional character. The X-rated genre of romance fanfiction has been around since the beginning of fanfiction, and even the beginning of Undertale, with one of the earliest X-rated fanfictions on Archive of Our Own dating back to September 27th, 2015. The game released on the 15th. So yeah, people really wanted to get it on with these characters. And with the fact that the only real official relationship that's still intact being Undyne and Alphys, that leaves a lot of monsters in the underground for fans to want to make their husbandos, their waifus, and spouses. From the hot hunk of metal that is Metaton, to the caring silly mommy goat Toriel, and hell, to people wanting even Flowey to get his vines on them in not very YouTube friendly ways. But above anyone else, there is one pair of characters who have stolen the hearts of many a fangirl, boy, or just love-struck dreamer alike. The absolutely unresistible sexy skeleton brothers themselves, Sans and Papyrus. Despite literally just being bones covered in some clothes, the wacky antics of the pair of brothers managed to get thousands of fans to want to jump their bones. And while Papyrus is definitely probably the second most popular character in Undertale with his upbeat optimism and friendly nature, unfortunately his efforts to be popular were beaten by his brother, Sans. With his laid-back attitude, silly jokes and puns, and the serious side of him that hides beneath this more easygoing demeanor, making way more people hot under the collar than poor Toby Fox ever imagined. And these two skeletons got people's hearts ablaze. It's not a wonder that people instantly wanted to ship themselves with these goofy skeletons. But then something came along that would take this shipping thing to a whole new level. Undertale AUs, or Undertale alternate universes. Underfell, Underswap, Swap Fell, Fell Swap Gold, Undertale, Underlust, Fell Lust, Dancetale, Dance Fell, Dreamtale, Dusttale, Horrortale, Horror Swap, Aerotale, Underfresh, Aftertale, Reapertale, Inktale, Flowerfell, Epic Tale, Birdtale, Farmtale, and on and on and on and on. So many types of Undertale AUs. And now, so many different Sanses and Papyri to date. Yep. Fanfiction writers and fan artists had practically struck gold with all these AUs popping up left, right, and center. A cheerful Sans? A more laid-back Papyrus? Edgy Sans and Papyrus with killer fashion sense, and then having their personalities flipped? There were so many to choose from, and eventually people realized, why would they even have to choose?
Why have one bitch when you can have five? Why have five bitches? You can have nine.
In enters the Undertale Reverse Harem fanfiction. The harems made entirely of just different Sanses or Papyri, or even having both of them fawning over mix your name like they're the next best thing since the barrier broke down. And let me get this straight right out of the gate. I am completely supportive of this. Like, yes, get those skeleton boys to love you. Go off. And I might have also written one of these with way too long of a word count than it should have, and read hundreds and thousands of words of this myself, so I'm speaking as a fellow skeleton lover here. You know, from experience. All of this is from personal experience. To my knowledge, one of the first fanfictions on AO3 to have this premise that started all of this is Moon Tamble's House of Sands, where the reader ends up becoming a maid in a house with Underfell, Underswap, Dancetail, Underlust, Beasttail, and many more Sanses, and Sanses specifically. With a whopping almost 60,000 hits and over 2.5 thousand kudos, it was obvious Undertale fans were starving for more of this. And more of this they made and consumed. And one of the most influential fanfictions that I've seen credited to inspire many more of these is Raccoon Sin Queen's 6 Skeletons, 1 Maid. And I have a personal connection to this one because I'll admit, I read this too when I was really early into my harem fanfiction spiral. And I know, scandalous. This fanfiction follows a very similar premise to the previous one where, like the title says, the reader works as a maid for 6 skeletons. The normal Undertale Sands and Papyrus, Underswap Sands and Papyrus, and Underfell Sands and Papyrus, with a few other AUs popping in here and there. With almost 300,000 hits and over 8,000 kudos, I don't think it's that big of an exaggeration to say that this fic was probably the biggest reason many other Sans ex-reader ex-papyri were born. And disclaimer, before anyone asks, most of these writers that I've found do not write Sans and Papyrus in a relationship with each other, or fancest, as it's come to be known. None of that is happening while the reader is getting her skeleton boning on. Well, most of them don't do that. There are a few, but I won't be talking about those. Basically, it's like, you know those really basic stars that you draw where all the lines go to the middle, but none of them really touch each other? Yeah, that's basically how the romance relationship chart looks like for most of these. And you'll notice common themes and tropes most of these fanfictions fall into. The writers read from other writers, get inspired and copy them, and then they inspire others, and it makes an infinite cycle where they kind of just feed from each other and then replicate what they've been feeding on and on and on and on. So there's a lot of very similar premises when you read these type of fanfictions. One of the biggest is the reader ending up living with the skeletons, usually, as a maid or a housekeeper for one reason or another. With the skeletons all living together, usually because of some dimensional screw-up, usually because of the mysterious machine Sans keeps in the basement. Sometimes the MC is actually like a landlord, helping the skeletons out by having them live on some property they inherited from a wealthy relative. Like all of us can relate to. Another common trope is the anti-harem trope, where the reader is actually disliked by most, if not all, of the skeletons at first. Usually because of another person that's actually in the proper harem relationship with the skeletons and turning them against the reader. Yes, there are Undertale fans that do like and read this trope more than you'd expect. Usually because of that sweet, sweet serotonin of having the skeletons find out the person they worshipped like an angel was actually a lying, sometimes even cheating faker, and the MC was the real angel, and having them get on their knees and beg for forgiveness. Yes, we are very sane, don't worry. The island skeleton trope is pretty common too, as in all the skeletons are literally inhabitants of some tropical island where the main character ends up, usually from a boat sinking or plane crashing, but there are a few other creative reasons that I've seen floating around here and there. And, cue the chance for language barrier effects. A surprising number of these make use of another very common trope fanfiction writers like using. Yes, that one. Something about being on a primitive island living in nature and roughing it out must really bring out the animal in some people, or the monster in them. And slight tangent from like ex-readers, but still focusing on like the reader being the focus on a group of of alternate stanzas, papyri, monsters, things like that. Have any of you heard of fluffies? You know, like the My Little Pony fluffies? And yeah, I'm pretty sure I just gave at least some people will flashbacks with that. Anyway, Undertale has a much less traumatizing version of that with Bitty Bones. As in taking the monsters, making them tiny, and usually having them be pets. Usually pretty expensive ones too. And dimensional barriers? No. They're all just different breeds and species. Like Underfell Sands is an edgy and undersword papyrus biddies of little bro. Now you'd think this would bring in wholesome, cute, fluffy fanfics, what with mixed reader adopting cute little monsters to keep them company, and well, for the most part it does, but unfortunately when something gets in the hand of fanfiction writers, eventually even things that started with innocent intentions can turn into very not safe for work kinds of works. Where there's a will, there's definitely a way. And that's just touching on the surface of what kind of fanfiction people in this specific genre of Undertale fanfiction writing have touched on. There's so many different tropes that are self-contained in just the reverse harem skeleton region of Undertale fanfiction. Would you believe how many stanzas as rare half-breed monster fish stuck in abusive aquariums and finding out the new reader workers actually their soulmate and turns yandere they are? Or, you know, Leslie connected to ex-reader again, the reader actually being adopted by the skeletons and having some monster sibling they end up being overshadowed by? And all of us just keep screaming, again! 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 The moment one reader comes up with a fun way to have the skeletons love us and just make the same story but in different fonts. And hell, I'll admit, I fall for it hook, line, and sinker every time. And judging by the numbers, so do the rest of the readers. And I'm not making this video to make fun of the fans making this. Oh, okay, maybe a little, but I mean, I'm also making fun of myself here since I'm in this demographic. I've just never seen anyone talk about this side of the Undertale fandom before. If I hadn't gone reading for it, I wouldn't even have known it existed. Like, you know, this specific side, not just the vague shipping or anything. I think creators making things to show love for the things they love and to have that thing love them back is just a beautiful expression of the human desire to create and to feel love. So if you ever want to write something about you going on a date with your favorite fictional character, go ahead. If you want to draw yourself kissing the sexy fictional man number 100, do it. Like, trust me, there are way worse things people have written of what their self-insert has done to a whole group of fictional characters. Maybe one day I'll even go into depth about the specific tropes that the still contained fanfiction area have made up and continue to circle around each other. Who knows? I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care!